Yeah, let's talk about
You're welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk About It with your boy. Honestly, guys, I wanted to talk about making mistakes and how we deal with them and whether we those type of people that get hung up on it and and really can't get things figured out. Like I mean, I have plenty of mistakes that I've made that you know that I'm not really too fond with, and of course I'm human, so I can get in my feelings, and sometimes we stay in it like the way that we're constantly treating ourselves and the way that I look at some of my mistakes and some of the things that I've done that I beat myself up on, whether it's making a mistake in, let's say, the wrong choice in careers. Let's say the wrong choice in. I mean, there's a variety of things that we can deem uh this was a bigger mistake than the last one, and I'm interested to see what other people, like, how they feel about the mistakes that they have made, and what are some of the things that you do that doesn't get you so caught up on your past. Now, I'm not saying this to say that we got to forgive everybody for because mistakes can come in all forms, right? And I'm not saying that you have to you know always look past people's mistakes and stuff like that, but you in all honesty, sometimes in certain situations you do have to you have to know that, yeah, it was a mistake. And not only that, when people make mistakes, and I say in general making mistakes, and not just for me, like if I make a mistake, let's say let's say I made a mistake with discipline in my son, and not only do I have to rectify that mistake with my son, but I also have to rectify that mistake that I made, that I identified and said, you know what, that was wrong of me. And so I have to rectify that with myself as well. And it seems that we tend to ignore them, forgiving ourselves and really dealing with the internal forgiveness, because we somewhat know how to rectify things when we make a mistake that may have affected other people, right? But we also have made certain mistakes that, yes, also have affected other people, but there are also things that we've done and choices that we've made, and that's really what I'm getting at. I'm getting at how you deal with the mistakes that you made or the choices that you've made, and some of the mistakes that you may have made. And what I mean by the mistakes is like, maybe I shouldn't have went down this career path, right? And maybe I should have went this route. So like for me, like when I realize that I made a mistake, or I know I did something that wasn't beneficial, or that, just cut and dry, like, there's two choices, whether it's career, uh sports, whatever. And when I would make, say, career choice of going to the military, I didn't I don't say it's a mistake at all. I'm grateful for my choices. I'm grateful for being in the military and doing the time that I, served. But sometimes, I think, maybe did I make the right choice picking the path that I picked in the Air Force, which was supply. Maybe I should have went with uh, something in computers. Like, a lot of things pop up in your mind, and most times what I've noticed is we tend to identify our mistakes. We tend to analyze our mistakes. We tend to bring our mistakes to the forefront when we're in bad times. It's rare that when everything is good, it's rare that you're calling out your mistakes. When everything is good and money's flowing, your friends are good, family's good, everything's going smooth in your life, you don't pay attention to the mistakes that you've made. It's only when you're in a rut, you're down, that you start thinking, damn, did I make the right choice to pick this career field? Because it seems like, did I do this right? Did I, like, a lot of things start spiraling through your head and through your mind, and that's normal. Like, it's normal. And when you hear the statements and the phrases, it's okay to make mistakes. It is. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fail, but the key of it is learning from those mistakes. And if you're not learning from the mistakes or the failures that you made, then you will get those people, your friends, your family, um, that will look at you and say, "Well, you ain't changed. You ain't changed." Like, we still judge you off those mistakes like, we got to understand that, yes, we do make mistakes in life, and we do make choices that maybe down the line, you think to yourself and say, maybe I should have went another route. Like we go through all that stuff all the time in our heads. And we got to get to a point where we're saying that we don't have to dwell and sit and mope about our mistakes. Like identify them, and of course we're all human. Like when I'm as I'm saying, like we're human. Don't get it wrong. Like we are going to slip up. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to do things that we may not agree with at the time. But we got to get to a point where we don't get so hung up on making that bad choice and focus on what we're going to do to ensure that those mistakes don't happen again. And like what things are you setting up to ensure that you're on the right path? This is the career path that I need to be on. And like there's a lot of self that you have to tap into. Like honestly, there's a lot of and it's whatever you're into. Honestly, it's whatever you're into, whether it's praying, meditation, yoga, whatever it is, music. There's got to be something that is going to reset things, because you don't want to just be sitting there dwelling on a mistake that you made or mistakes that you've made years ago. You don't want to still be focusing on those. You want to move past those and make up in your mind that things will be different. Things, you know, things aren't going to repeat itself, and you'll start listening more. And I think when you listen, even after like before making the bad choices, and even after making those bad choices, you have to sit there and listen for possible warnings, signs saying, hey, maybe you should apply for this job, or maybe you should settle here. You'll see those. It's just imperative that we listen. But even after, say, you make that the wrong choice, there's lessons in that, because now you know, and now you understand. All right, I shouldn't have went this route. I should have probably studied more. I probably should have did this. Like you start to, if you're listening and you're paying attention and you're actually getting something from that. Now, once you once you receive whatever message it is that you need to receive from that mistake, move on from it. Don't still sit in it, because that's all you're gonna do is just, it's gonna just mess up your mind. It's gonna be, you're gonna, in your mind you're gonna be walking on eggshells. And take the message, learn from that mistake, and move on. It I think once you once you make up in your mind that the path that I was on or the choices that I've made, once you realize the message in it and the lesson, and also identifying that yes, you were in the wrong for that, or damn, I messed up, I probably should have studied, or I probably, there's all different types of scenarios when it comes to just making mistakes in life. And the sooner that we can face it head on, identify and realize, were things, caused by me? Was it my fault? Was it this? Should I spent more time here? Should I have? There's so many things that run through your mind, right? There's so many things that can run through your head, and we have to get to a point and identify it and then push forward. That's that's what we have to do. And it'll take time. It'll take time to get used to adjusting. It's going to take time to get used to not worrying about what happened and just moving forward. And I'm saying this to say this. If your choices and mistakes and whatever it is, if the mistakes that happen in your life, affected someone else, you have to be considerate of those other people in the process of learning from that mistake, right? But a lot of times now, yeah, a lot of times the mistakes that we made are more internal. And what I mean by that is some of the things that affected that affected you, and that's gonna only that only somewhat benefits you in a saying. And what I mean by that is, uh, let's say studying or studying to get a degree in school, to get a degree, and you make the mistake of not taking school serious. You still pass, you still do this, but you don't take it serious, right? And maybe you didn't get certain network opportunities, right? Because maybe you weren't taking it serious enough. And now that is an internal mistake that you may have made, and that you may have identified years later, right? And those are the type of mistakes and choices that I'm talking about. Those internal mistakes that you keep sitting on, that you keep, that are maybe ruining you from going the next step in your life, right? So we got to get to a point where we don't We don't dwell on it. Like we understand and identify this is what went wrong, but don't just keep like I look at it like I'm trying to be clear without being repetitive because I don't want to say it's simple because it's not. Thing it The solution may be simple, right? Like the solution may be simple. Get it together, don't focus on your mistakes. As simple as that sounds, but it can go deeper. I mean, because we have different ways of dealing with things. We have different ways of dealing with things in life. Some may some may be able to take their failures and shrug them off. Some people can do that. But for others it hits hard, and for people that can handle it well to say, "Hey, just, get over it." It may sound simple. It may sound simple to say that, but it like I look at it like this. Everyone's different, and for the ones that have a hard time getting over, certain things, certain choices that they have made that may have either backfired or didn't go their way. It happened. Like as as direct as it sounds, and it's not to, especially if especially if choices and mistakes and things of that in your life have affected others. You have to look at it because yes, you have to fix things, but you also have to fix things within yourself. You have to say, look, this choice I made, it happened. It happened. Like I don't the only thing I can do now is fix the problem and move forward, right? So you don't want to sit in it because all you're going to do is make yourself miserable. There's no time machine. We can't go back and make different choices. The choice was made, the pick was made, the whatever it was made, and there's no going back. So because there's no going back, we have to face reality. We have to say, and we have to look at it like, all right, things can go one or two ways. I can nut up, fix, rectify things, or dwell on it and not fix things. I mean, that's just cut and dry, simple as pie. I wasn't trying to rhyme, but I got bars. You dig? But look, I understand. I understand that bad choices that we make that we call mistakes, stuff like that. We have to stop giving ourselves excuses. And yes, it could be tough, it could be hard, but growth requires a little ruffling of the feathers mentally. I mean, all these things, all the tools that I speak on or I try to touch on are a lot of mental mental techniques, a lot of self-searching. There's going to be a lot of you talking to yourself, a lot of you looking yourself in the mirror when it comes to addressing mistakes, addressing your own mistakes. When it comes to addressing your own mistakes, you're talking to yourself a lot. You're looking yourself in the mirror, and because it's your mind, the mirror will talk back and will try to justify those mistakes, try to justify why it went south, why this went this way, why I chose to go this route. So it's going to be a lot of back and forth with yourself. So I get that things could be tough. I understand that. You're not alone. You're not alone in that. Because I battle with certain things and deal with certain things myself because like I've said, my past isn't squeaky. My life hasn't been perfect. So I've made plenty. The list is long of the mistakes I've made in my past. And some mistakes I deal with them better than others. But others other mistakes that I've now I identify as mistakes because when you're living in the past and when you're in the past and when you're before making any decisions, you're in your own you're in your own world, you're in your own mind, and nobody could tell you different, right? So at the time you may not notice or identify any mistakes that you made, but as you get older and start to figure life out a little bit, you start taking, for me, I'll say this. I start looking at my mistakes and my mistakes and as I got older, the word mistakes for me changed, especially as, loved ones leave out of here. And one mistake did I say that I would that gets me a lot that I'm having a hard time with is spending more time talking to my grandmother. Spending more time with her. Uh my grandmother passed away 2 years ago and doesn't sit right with me. Still doesn't sit right. And my grandmother was my world. She raised me and I was constantly, always on the phone with her. But when as you go, you're busy and things lead to another, and then now you're not, speaking as often, and that's one thing that sits with me is I wish I would have had more time with my grandmother. And now, like I said, I changed the definition of mistake for myself because it wasn't it. I felt that I should have just, the times where I was, younger and, maybe could have, you start thinking of things like that. And yeah, that's one that's heavy on me. But I know we all have those. We have those regrets, those mistakes, those choices that we made that, like I said, hit different or harder to deal with than others. And like I said, that stuff is okay. It's just as long as we are constantly trying to fix and trying to, you know, better our mental and better our situations, whether it's job, career, relationships, whatever it is, we want to find that peace. We want to find true peace. We got to stop worrying so much about the negative. We have to stop doing that. And once we focus our minds on just staying positive or looking at things, the saying, half full, like try to start looking at things in a positive light so that you can possibly learn something from it, so that you're taking your mistakes that you've made and look at the positive of, I made that and the result of that didn't work out, so now I know I need to go a different route, or I need to approach things differently. There's so many factors that you can tie into choices that you've made. And the reason why I say that, the reason why this conversation was something that I really wanted to talk about is because we're not defined by it. We're not defined by our mistakes that we've made. We're not defined by that. But we are defined by what we do in response to our mistakes and how we go about not allowing certain patterns and mistakes to happen again. Like we all have layers to ourselves. My experience may be different from your experience. Her experience will be different from her experience. His experience will be different from. Now, we all obviously can share similar experiences, but all in all, we're all different. So we all handle stress different. We all handle our emotions different. So I know for some, it can take some time to get over certain choices that you've made in life, and others, they look at it, learn from it, and move on. Or there are some that just don't care, and the ones that don't care, it seems they tend to make those same mistakes again. So I just really, the message is simple. We make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but we got to learn from them and change the pattern. That's it. That's really all. That's really all that we have to do. Stop dwelling on negative and hurt. And I'm not saying that that stuff is not going to happen, but when it does happen, try to find a solution to fix it. I really appreciate y'all listening to another episode of Let's Talk About It with your boy. You're.
Let's talk about it.